Have you ever stopped to consider, like, the lengths someone might go to when they're really backed against a financial wall?
Mm,
Today, we're plunging into an absolutely unbelievable story, one that truly grips you from the start.
yeah.
It's the tale of John and Ann Darwin. You might know them as the canoe man and his wife.
Yes, that one.
Prepare yourself, honestly. It's a web of elaborate deception, family betrayal.
Yeah.
It's almost stranger than fiction.
It's the sheer audacity of it, isn't it? That's what's so compelling.
Right.
To think this couple facing, significant debt, they cook up this elaborate plan to fake his death way back in 2002.
It's mind-blowing.
It really makes you wonder about, well, the human capacity for such extreme stuff.
Absolutely. And to really understand the intricacies of this jaw-dropping case for you, we've really immersed ourselves in a range of sources.
Okay.
We've meticulously gone through news articles, The Guardian, The Daily Mail, piecing together the timeline, trying to get the motivations. And we've also spent time with a narrative account on YouTube, which gives you a real kind of sense of the unfolding drama.
Right. Those sources together, they paint a pretty vivid picture, don't they? A couple under immense financial strain.
Yeah.
And as we explore this, you got to keep in mind the sheer scale of their debt. Was it around 700,000 pounds?
700,000 pounds, yeah.
That kind of pressure, well, it can lead people to consider desperate options. We know it stemmed from some unsuccessful property investments. It wasn't just a few bad choices. This was a significant financial burden.
Right, and it sounds like John's whole approach to finance wasn't exactly prudent. Heavy reliance on loans, credit cards.
Yeah, things spiraled.
Exactly. So let's get into the core of this unbelievable deception. John's answer to this mountain of debt.
Let me guess.
Faking his own death. In a canoeing accident.
Oh.
I mean, when you first hear it, it's almost comical, isn't it? So
Yeah.
outlandish. But the consequences, they were anything but. The goal, obviously, was to claim life insurance, pensions, wipe the slate clean, start again.
And you just have to try and imagine being in Anne's position when he first proposed this.
Oh, gosh.
The shock, the disbelief. It must have been staggering.
Yeah.
It really highlights the power dynamics maybe in their relationship and the level of desperation John felt, perhaps imposing it on Anne.
What went through her mind? It's a question that just hangs there.
It really does.
And that's what we really want to delve into for you today. We want to understand the layers,
Yeah.
how they managed it for so long,
The impact.
the devastating ripple effect on their family, and, well, the almost inevitable way their lives just crumbled.
Okay, so where does this incredible story actually begin? The disappearance itself.
Let's start there. March 21st, 2002. Seems like an ordinary day, but yeah, not so much.
The day it all kicked off.
This was the day John put his bizarre scheme into action. He stages this canoe trip, paddling out from the shore. And here's a twist, almost like foreshadowing. A neighbor actually saw him heading out to sea from their window.
No way. A witness from the start.
A seemingly small detail, but yeah. Anyway, after John's staged departure and sticking to the plan, she contacts the authorities, reports him missing.
And the immediate response was pretty substantial, wasn't it? A big search operation.
Oh, absolutely massive.
Yeah.
For 4 agonizing days, multiple boats, even a helicopter, meticulously scouring, 60 square miles of coastline?
Wow. That's a huge area.
Think about the scale of that effort, the people, the equipment. The Daily Mail reported it cost the public around 100,000 pounds.
Oof. 100,000 pounds.
Makes you think about the wider impact of their, selfish actions, doesn't it?
It certainly adds another layer. It wasn't just about defrauding insurance companies. They were diverting serious public resources based on a lie.
Precisely. And then the discovery that seemed to confirm the worst.
The canoe.
The damaged canoe was found. And this, understandably, led everyone to the heartbreaking conclusion. John perished at sea, body lost.
The community mourned. Everyone believed he was gone.
Tragic accident. Or so they thought.
But as we know, the reality was,
Yeah.
well, far more convoluted. He hadn't died in the North Sea. So where was he? Well, everyone was mourning and searching.
Okay, here's where the story takes an even more unbelievable turn for you. John had actually returned.
Returned? Where?
Not just to the area. He was secretly living in a bedsit. A small single-room apartment right next door to the family home.
Next door.
Can you imagine? They even apparently created a hidden passageway connecting the two places.
That's like something out of a thriller novel, not real life.
Exactly.
And the really unsettling part is, Anne and her sons grieving publicly.
While he's literally a wall away.
It just underscores the profound emotional manipulation they were putting those boys through.
Terrible.
Mourning a man who's alive steps away. That secret must have created just unbearable tension in that house.
And John wasn't exactly, living like a ghost either. He apparently took some incredibly risky steps.
Like what?
He'd venture out.
Yeah.
In disguise. And get this, he even went to a cemetery.
A cemetery? What?
Looking for the identity of a dead person he could steal.
Yeah.
Meticulously searching. Think about the mindset there.
That's chilling. It really highlights the depth of his planning, the sort of macabre lengths he'd go to.
Unbelievable.
And he actually succeeded, found an identity.
He did. He chillingly assumed the identity of a baby who tragically died at just 5 weeks old. John Jones.
Wow.
It's reported he managed to fraudulently get a birth certificate under that name and eventually even a passport.
So he had papers.
Which allowed him, theoretically, a bit more freedom to move around without, immediate suspicion.
So, with John now legally dead in the eyes of the world, the financial part of the plan could kick in.
Yep, time for the payout.
What exactly did they gain from this whole audacious deception?
Well, after John was officially declared dead, that was April 2003, the insurance money started rolling in.
Right.
Anne received a pretty substantial sum, around £250,000 from life insurance, another £250,000 from teaching and prison service pensions.
Wow, another $250,000.
Plus various smaller amounts.
Yeah.
It brought the total to well over £500,000.
$500,000.
And don't forget the £135,000 from the mortgage, which was conveniently paid off too.
Ah, yes. The mortgage gone.
So for you, it's clear the financial incentive was huge.
A significant amount of money, definitely. And as the Daily Mail reported, this cash let them clear those massive debts. Still around £700,000.
Right. Pretty much wiped him out.
So while they didn't become millionaires overnight, they were certainly in a vastly improved financial spot.
Well, yeah.
It makes you wonder if for John, this was always the main goal. And maybe Anne was just a means to that end.
It's a dark thought, isn't it? And with the debts gone and this new false identity for John, they decided to escalate things even further.
How so?
Moving to Panama, starting an entirely new life.
Panama. Okay.
It just speaks to the level of commitment to this incredible lie.
Panama seems like a very deliberate choice, though. The YouTube narrative we watched highlighted some reasons, didn't it?
It did.
What made Panama so appealing?
Apparently, John saw Panama as like the ideal escape hatch. Relatively low cost of living, appealingly low taxes, the allure of anonymous bank accounts.
Ah, the secrecy aspect.
And supposedly straightforward residency rules. It was a place they thought they could just vanish, live openly under his fake name, John Jones, without scrutiny.
And they even had actual plans for a business there. It wasn't just hiding.
That's right. They bought an apartment near the coast and also some land.
Okay.
With the rather ironic idea of potentially starting, wait for it, a canoeing business.
You're kidding. A canoeing business?
I know. It's almost like they were trying to build this idyllic life they maybe always wanted, but on a foundation of pure deceit.
Wow. But as we know, their tropical escape didn't quite work out as planned. It wasn't the end of the story.
Not by a long shot.
What eventually led to the unraveling? What brought them back from paradise?
Well, it seems John started to feel the pull of his old life. Specifically, missing his sons.
Ah, the family connection.
According to reports in the Daily Mail, this longing to reconnect was a big factor in him wanting to return to the UK. Plus, apparently, getting permanent residency in Panama with a fake identity and, let's face it, a dodgy background.
Probably harder than they thought.
Exactly. Proved more challenging than they expected. So in a move that seems almost unbelievable considering everything, John decides to return to the UK, December 2007.
And his return was just as dramatic and staged as his disappearance, wasn't it? He didn't just slip back quietly.
Absolutely not. He orchestrates this reappearance at a London police station.
Claiming what?
Claiming he had amnesia, no memory of the past 5 years.
Amnesia? Seriously?
Yep. Imagine the sheer shock, the confusion, when his sons, Mark and Anthony, get called by the police
Oh my God.
and find themselves face-to-face with their dad, the man they'd grieved, believed dead for 5 years.
What must have gone through their minds that moment?
Initially, you have to think overwhelming joy, relief.
Of course. Their dad is back.
But that initial happiness tragically short-lived, wasn't it?
The truth was so much more painful.
Heartbreakingly so. While John's making his sensational reappearance, Anne's still in Panama.
Right, she didn't come back immediately.
She deliberately delayed her return, made up excuses, fabricated legal issues as her reason for staying.
That alone should have raised red flags, shouldn't it? Why the delay if your dead husband is back?
You'd think so. And then came the seemingly innocuous piece of evidence that just shattered everything.
The photograph.
A single photograph, often the smallest detail, right? That brings down the whole house of cards.
What was the picture?
Is a photo of John and Anne smiling with an estate agent in Panama, dated July 2006.
2006, so years after he supposedly died.
Exactly. It's inexplicably surfaced online. Maybe carelessness, maybe wanting to document their new life. Who knows? But it was their undoing.
Undeniable proof.
Irrefutable proof he was alive, living with Anne in Panama long after his death.
How did this crucial picture even come to light? How did it get found?
Well, it's reported that a tenacious journalist, David Lee, managed to track Anne down in Panama
Okay.
and confronted her directly with the photograph.
Right in front of her. What did she do?
Initially, she tried to stick to a revised story, clinging to the amnesia narrative, claiming she was just covering for John out of loyalty.
But with the photo right there, that must have sounded pretty hollow.
Increasingly hollow, yeah. What was the immediate fallout once the truth started spilling out publicly?
Things must have moved fast then.
Oh, yeah. John was promptly arrested back in the UK. Fraud charges.
And?
When she finally made her reluctant return from Panama, she was arrested too, as soon as she stepped off the plane at the airport.
Wow. Met by the police.
The Daily Mail has some pretty stark pictures of her being taken into custody. A dramatic end to the whole scheme.
And the emotional fallout for their sons.
Huh.
It must have been just devastating.
Unimaginable.
The sources we looked at really underscore their profound sense of betrayal. Imagine that depth of hurt.
Absolutely. Their public statements were just utterly heartbreaking. Mark reportedly described his own mother as, well, it was harsh, a hideous lying bitch.
Oof. That's intense.
They felt not only deeply deceived, but also terrified they could be implicated in money laundering, with all the money involved.
Of course. They'd be worried.
Their world, already shattered by his supposed death, was now just completely destroyed by their parents' calculated lies.
Facing all the evidence, the potential impact on her kids, and eventually made a full confession, didn't she?
Yes, she did. While she initially claimed she'd been coerced by John.
Which might have had some truth to it, but...
Right. But she ultimately admitted her willing complicity in the whole thing. The Guardian quoted her acknowledging that deceiving her sons, that was unforgivable. Her words.
That must have been hard to admit. Speaks to the immense guilt.
So.
And the legal consequences. Prison time.
Significant time. John got over 6 years. Anne's sentence was actually slightly longer.
Longer for her. Why?
It seems the court viewed her betrayal of her children, and maybe just the prolonged nature of her part in the deception, particularly severely.
Right, and the aftermath. After prison, what happened to them? Did things go back to normal? Hardly.
No, not at all. Unsurprisingly, their marriage ended. Divorce.
Makes sense.
John later remarried in the Philippines. And get this, in a truly bizarre recent twist, reported by the Daily Mail.
Uh-oh. What now?
His second wife apparently claimed he intends to go and fight in Ukraine.
You're joking. Seriously.
That's what was reported. Just adds another layer of weirdness to his story.
Wow. Okay. And Anne?
Anne, on the other hand, has reportedly worked towards reconciliation with her sons after her release.
That's good to hear, at least for the sons.
Yeah. She even wrote a book, Out of My Depth, telling her side of things. And now works for the RSPCA, the animal charity.
Okay.
Her continued expressions of remorse, especially about her sons, they seem genuine.
It is just an extraordinary story, isn't it? Almost unbelievable. So many twists, keeps you hooked.
Really.
As we kind of wrap up our deep dive into this, what are the key takeaways for our listener? What should they be thinking about?
It all boils down to this, really. The immense pressure of financial desperation. It can drive people to consider unbelievably audacious plans.
Like faking your own death.
Exactly. Followed by years of sustained deception, living next door, the fake identity, moving abroad.
The whole 9 yards.
And as often happens with these elaborate lies, it was an unforeseen detail, that single photograph, that just brought the whole thing crashing down.
Yeah. And maybe the most profound part of it all for you to consider is that immense lasting betrayal felt by the sons.
Oh, doubt.
That emotional damage from years of living a lie, then the public exposure, the humiliation.
Uh-huh.
It's almost impossible to fully grasp that.
So as you reflect on this truly remarkable, unsettling story, ask yourself, what does this tale of John and Ann Darwin reveal about, say, the crushing pressures of debt in our society?
Good question.
What does it tell us about the complexities, the potential breaking points in family relationships under extreme duress?
Yeah.
And what about the long, devastating consequences of choosing deception as a way out?
It lingers.
It's a case that just continues to fascinate, provoke thought, raises huge questions about forgiveness, manipulation, and ultimately the impact of the choices we make.
Definitely worth considering all the different perspectives in this truly extraordinary and, yeah, cautionary tale.